It's been delayed like a million times, or maybe just once, and I got really upset about it and cried a little bit. But this Friday sees the release of Martin Scorsese's adaptation of Dennis Lehane's Shutter Island. It's the continuation of Scorsese and DiCaprio working together. It's not Scorsese's normal gangster stuff, which, am I going to complain about that? It's not De Niro, it's DiCaprio. Will their pairing be as good and as fruitful as the work that they did in the 80s and early 90s together? And will... We don't know. We have to wait till Friday to find out if it's any good or not. But one thing's for sure, Scorsese is a living legend, a master in his own time, loved and adored by all, one of the best living filmmakers. And he's the subject of today's very important Dudes and Dudettes in Film History show. So Scorsese started out like exactly, what, 50% scientifically determined of all famous working filmmakers by going to film school, specifically the Tisch School at NYU in New York, where he was also born and raised. His most famous film from that period, his time as a student, is called The Big Shave, which we can see thanks to YouTube. You can go and find it over there, it's not hard to find. Which was alternately titled Viet 67. It's basically a 5-minute piece where a guy shaves his face in a bathroom and eventually shaves himself bloody and eventually slits his own throat while shaving. And it's just this horrible, bloody, very stylish commentary on the American involvement in Vietnam. What's interesting is that even way back then, in a 5-minute short from film school, you can see some of the inchoate Scorsese style, some of the cues, especially the way that he uses music. Scorsese started working with Harvey Keitel, who he knew from school, right away, and he knew a lot of the other film brads from the 70s as well. Brian De Palma introduced him to Robert De Niro, and Francis Ford Coppola took Ellen Burstyn to go see a pre-release screening of Mean Streets, his second feature. That led to Ellen Burstyn choosing him to direct her in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which is a movie that's kind of a bit of an aberration in that it's not about a troubled young Catholic Italian dude struggling with morality and machismo and guilt and crime. Ellen Burstyn's really good in it. She won an Oscar for her performance. And it's a really good movie and you kind of forget about it, which is a repeating pattern in Scorsese's career. Scorsese then made You Know It, You Love It, one of the best films of all time, Taxi Driver, starring Robert De Niro. He and De Niro brought us Travis Bickle in one of the best character portrait films of all time. He also brought us John Hinckley Jr. trying to kill Ronald Reagan a couple of years later. So close, Hinckley, so close. It was also the first time that Scorsese worked with cinematographer Michael Chapman, and the pairing helped establish Scorsese's reputation for innovative, expressive camera work. Post-Taxi Driver, Scorsese tackled New York, New York, a musical, and its kind of failure drove him into depression and a really powerful addiction to cocaine. Making the documentary about the band The Last Waltz with some of the best cinematographers working in the business, again with Michael Chapman, didn't help bring him out, but what did was Robert De Niro working with him in 1980 on Raging Bull, another one of the best movies of all time. It's half terrifying, half beautiful, and thanks to really talented people like Michael Chapman and editor Thelma Schoonmaker, it's an undisputed technical masterpiece. So from this point, 1980, go 10 years into the future to this point, 1990, and you've got Goodfellas with Pesci in the shine box, stabbing the dude in the trunk of the car. From 5 years on from that point, you've got Casino with Pesci getting buried in the desert. 11 years on from that point, you've got Gangster Jack with the shades and the Stone song and the trouble and the drama, and you've got Scorsese, the gangster movie master. The absolute king of the genre, the maestro at the top of his game, making movies that he knows how to make, that we love him for making. Except in between all of those gangster movies, Scorsese made a bunch of other movies that are incredible, that people just kind of gloss over. The King of Comedy and After Hours are both great, some of the best, darkest comedies that came out in the 80s. Even The Color of Money is good, and it has Tom Cruise in it. Cape Fear is great. It's an old-fashioned thriller that introduced us to the Robert De Niro that loved to chew up the scenery. And it's awesome! He's also the dude that made the massively underrated Last Temptation of Christ. And what everybody remembers about that film is the controversy. What they forget is that it's a really, really good movie. What gets missed about this guy is that while, yeah, a lot of his works explore similar themes, single troubled dudes, family, honor, machismo, crime, he's got a pretty broad oeuvre, one that's worth exploring. Even if you think, well, I'm a guy that likes gory Pesci murders, why would I like an adaptation of an Edith Wharton novel set in New York in the 1870s? Try it, you'll like it. But good news for lovers of gangster movies anyways, because in 2011 they will bring us Scorsese and De Niro, I Heard You Paint Houses, which will feature De Niro playing Frank the Irishman Sheeran, the guy that apparently shot Jimmy Hoffa. So will Shutter Island be good? I don't know. We'll have to wait till Friday to find out. Dennis Lehane is a great writer. Scorsese's probably the best living filmmaker. It's not a gangster thing, but I don't really care, because he makes great movies no matter what genre he works in. And I'm looking forward to it.